The number of energy points he had spent on revivals during the 7 days was huge. The revivals' energy points were 10 times the admission price. In total, he had spent over 10,000 energy points on revivals. That was why Suiping was afraid to go to the Archean divinity. He could afford the 9,000 energy points requested for admission, but he couldn't afford the revivals there. Suiping heaved a sigh as he looked at the interface. He had 460,000 energy points left. He would have to spend 100,000 energy points to upgrade the store, and that was one more step further away from amassing 1 million energy points to upgrade the Chaos Spirit Pool for incubation. Even though he felt his heart was aching as he was spending those energy points, he understood he had to upgrade the store right then. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to upgrade the Chaos Spirit Pool for incubation, even if he had enough energy points. Luckily, I can launch a professional training service after upgrading the store to the 3rd level. One round of professional training can get me 10,000 energy points. If I can take on several such orders every day, to have 1 million energy points won't be that difficult, Suiping said to himself. He stopped hesitating and went ahead to upgrade the store. Beep. Terms to upgrade the store to the 3rd level were met. Upgrade or not, the system said. Suiping sulked. Can you quit it with the beep before you say things? The system answered with a question. Don't you humans think this is what smart systems should do? Only idiotic systems do this. Is that so? I will switch to something else next time, then. Confirm your choice first. You know what I am thinking. Why do you need me to confirm anything? We should follow procedures, you know. Human rights. Am I right? Suiping rolled his eyes. Upgrade. Ding. The store will be upgraded. Business will be suspended for the next 24 hours. The newly added services are, Suiping. He didn't bother to continue his argument with the system. His attention was on a list with some new services that would be available at the store. First, it was the long-anticipated professional training service. For every round of training, he would charge the customer 1 million federal coins, which would be converted into 10,000 energy points, and the service would be available indefinitely. As long as the customers could afford it, they could select this service, which was the most suitable for wealthy students like Ye Hao. The second new service was a venue for tests. The store would have a designated venue for customers to test their pets' skills. This way, customers would be able to perform tests directly in the store, instead of going out to find another battle venue after picking up their pets. The third service to be added was pet sales. That was an upgrade to the pet rental service. Previously, the store had already established a pet rental service. Suiping had never used it because he didn't have proper pets to be rented out. He trained the little skeleton and the dark dragon hound often, and he treated them as his pets. He never planned on renting them out, and he wouldn't want to do so, either. After all, people who rented those pets could use them wrongly. The pets' lives could not be brought back if they, unfortunately, perish. If the pets died, the customers would not get a refund of their deposits. In some way, the customers would have practically bought the pets at a huge cost. However, for Suiping, pets like the little skeleton, the dark dragon hound, and the inferno dragon were too valuable to be sold. The pet sale service couldn't have come at a better time. Suiping was happy about this service. At the mysterious realm, he had caught several beasts at the peak of the 9th rank with his beast-catching rings. Those pets, while at the peak of the 9th rank, were only average in combat abilities and had a poor aptitude. They were just the kind of pets that could be sold. Suiping didn't want to keep those beasts for himself. Currently, Little Skeleton had already exceeded 10 in combat strength, much better than the beasts he caught. Also, he couldn't build contracts with pets at the peak of the 9th rank. His brain would explode. After all, his astral powers were only at the lower position of the 6th rank. There was a huge gap between him and the beasts at the peak of the 9th rank. Currently, at the very best, he could master beasts at the lower position of the 8 rank. That was at his limit. Controlling such a beast could backfire on him and he could suffer a mental breakdown. Beasts of the upper position of the 7th rank were the ones he could control, but risks were still there. This is a good chance. I can sell the 9th rank beasts in the beast catching rings. Those kinds of high-level beasts can be appealing to high-quality customers. I'll see those beasts as in for the store, So Ping said to himself. The store is upgraded now. Then what is the security zone like now? So Ping asked. This was his biggest concern at the moment. The system replied, the security zone within the territory of the store has been set up. As long as it's within the scope of the store, the host will be safe. As for the other functions, they will become available after the upgrade is completed. Really? So Ping was happy to hear this. That was to say, he could step out at the moment and go to the other places he had purchased. The host can activate the visual function to observe the security zone of all the store. This way, the host can see the boundaries of the security zone. That function is available to the host only. Added the system. So Ping was surprised. Active. He said at once. Soon, in his sight, he could see a layer of the light green veil on the stairs outside the store, and that light green veil extended further away from the store. So Ping stuck his head out and saw the green veil covered up most of the other places he had bought. Was this part of the security zone? So Ping's eyes were glowing. This way, he could have an accurate understanding of the scope of the security zone. Suddenly, he heard some car engines making noises outside. A fleet of a home decoration company drove in and parked outside the stores that So Ping had purchased. So Ping had no idea about what was going on. In the next moment, many average-looking people got off the cars and stepped into the many stores that he had bought. What? So Ping stared at them and wanted to go and confront them. Host does not need to worry. Those are just energy beings that the system has created. They are here to provide cover for the upgrade of the store, the system stated calmly. So Ping was taken aback. To provide cover for the upgrade of the store? He had thought that he just had to stay put for 24 hours and then the store would have a completely new look, with all the stores becoming one. He never expected that the system could come up with those energy beings who were pretending to be a decoration team. How queer this was! Of course, this would save him a ton of trouble. Having someone pretending was better than all the stores magically becoming one overnight. Otherwise, he would have to explain to his mom and So Lingyu. Will 24 hours be enough even if it's for play pretend construction? So Ping asked. The system answered. This is a large team. The time is tight, but it will not raise suspicions. People will only be amazed at the efficiency of the team. So Ping admitted that he was odd. The system was even more scheming than he was. At the same time, So Lingyu walked over after she heard the noises. She saw the decoration company fleet parked on the street. Surprised, she asked, why? Since when could this shabby street afford such a large-scale decoration? Since the system had offered a solution, So Ping was more than happy to oblige. He said calmly, it is me, your brother, that hired the team. They are all working on the stores that I bought. From now on, all of them will be ours. I want to put them together right now. After the work is done, you and Mom can pick a place to live in. So Ping had bought more places than what was required by the system. Those actual places would not be included in the system's construction scope and would remain the same as before. So Ping would have to find actual human companies to decorate and renovate them. After his response, So Ping had another question for the system. You built such a large team and they came out from nowhere. If people knew about this, how do you think I should explain it? Wouldn't it become more suspicious? Do not worry. I have set up a company that they belong to. When the upgrade is over, no one is going to doubt a thing, the system replied casually. So Ping raised his eyebrows. He did not make further comments because he knew the system was capable of doing this. After all, he still had that unknown, strange bank card that all the income of the store would be transferred to. You hired them? You bought all the places? Solingya was dumbstruck. The street was crowded with cars and many workers were outside, getting ready for the renovation. He had bought all those places. Even if she had not begun to work yet, she still had an idea of how much money it would require given the value of their family's own store. Suaping acted normal. Solingyu's gut feeling told her to call his bluff. But she remembered what Suaping did for her at the explorer's base and his merit points of over 400 million. She decided not to say a thing. She didn't know when it happened, but she realized that she was no longer able to read Suaping. She had thought she knew what kind of person Suaping was, but he had exceeded her expectations time after time. Suaping saw his mom getting up. She was woken up by the construction hustle and bustle. He asked her to follow him and Solingyu. They stayed within the security zone, went to the corner of the street, and found a diner that he didn't buy out. He ordered something and they sat down for a simple breakfast. During their breakfast, Li Qingru asked about the workers as well and Suaping repeated his explanation. Li Qingru's first reaction was that Suaping was joking around when he said he was the one hiring all the workers and buying all the other places. She could not believe him. She did a rough calculation and concluded that the cost would be at least 200 million. That number was astronomical for her. She could not make so much money even if she could live forever, let alone in this lifetime. Suaping could no longer hide the information that he was an explorer. He told Mom about this, which was the only logical explanation. Li Qingru was still having doubts. Solingyu jumped out to clear Suaping's name. When she explained, she had a weird expression on her face. She proved what Suaping said was true and implied that Suaping was at a high rank, actually being one of the most powerful explorers. Li Qingru put her hand over Solingyu's forehead to see if the latter was burning up. Then she asked if Solingyu was indebted to Suaping somehow. Suaping and Solingyu didn't know what to say to their mom. Solingyu glared at Suaping. It was so frustrating that one day, she would have to defend him in front of their mother, not to mention not being trusted. Suaping was helpless. He thought about showing them his bank card to prove his story. On second thought, he gave up on the idea. There was still close to a 700 to 800 million balance on his card. Explaining that would be even harder. Inside, he was sighing. He couldn't just call out the Inferno Dragon to demonstrate he could make money. As for finding proof of his identity as an explorer, he had not collected his gold-tier explorer medal yet. Even if he had, he assumed his mom would not recognize it. After much deliberation, Suaping believed there was only one person that could explain all this for him, Dongming Song. Solingyu was studying at the Phoenix Peak Academy. Naturally, Li Qingru knew about the vice principal. She had seen pictures and information about him online. Suaping called Dongming Song and started a video chat at once. The call went through. On the screen, Dongming Song was smiling happily. Mr. Su, how did you find free time to call me? Suaping heaved a sigh before he answered, here is the thing. Can you explain to my mom that I'm a teacher at the academy? Dongming Song found the request odd. At the same time, Li Qingru had recognized Dongming Song. She gasped in surprise. Dongming Song knew what was going on. He greeted Li Qingru with a kind smile and then Suaping let his mom chat with Dongming Song. 10 minutes later, the call ended. Li Qingru looked at Suaping, shocked and happy. She believed in his story this time. Dongming Song reassured her again and again. Finally, she understood that her son had awakened a long time before and had become an advanced teacher at the Phoenix Peak Academy. The Phoenix Peak Academy was famous. Li Qingru was proud enough that Solingyu could be admitted. She didn't know that Suaping had achieved such a stunning achievement. He had joined the academy as an advanced teacher. How talented he must be! Tears came to her eyes. She was too excited. Suaping hurried to comfort her. He didn't know she would be this thrilled. Look at you. Why didn't you tell me about this before? When did you awaken? Why didn't you tell me? I could buy you a pet. Our family is kind of poor, but I would buy you a qualified pet at all costs. Li Qingru's eyes were filled with tears, but she was smiling happily. She was glad that Suoping had turned out to be so amazing and at the same time felt sorry for him. She had never helped Suoping in his cultivation. She knew that Suoping's accomplishments was definitely a result of his hard work. That thought made her heart ache. Mom, this is a long story. I will tell you some other time, Suoping said. He could tell that her feelings were sincere from the look of her eyes. He was touched. Maybe this was the reason why he was willing to call her mom. Solingyu sat on the side, not saying a word. Your father will be happy to know that you are full of promises. I have to call your father sometime. You and Lingyu have grown up, your father won't have to continue risking his life. I can tell him to come back to find a safer and easier job. Li Qingru wiped off her tears and went on joyfully. Suoping had little memory of the father he had never met. Solingyu said something for the first time in a long while, it is time to tell Dad to come back. She was serious. When I graduate, I will become a powerful explorer as well. Dad doesn't have to go to sea to make money anymore. He can only come home a few times a year and what he is doing is far too dangerous. Yes. Li Qingru nodded. This was what she had been worried about as well. She was always on tenterhooks. She would have never allowed her husband to take on such a risky occupation if it weren't for their 2 kids. Suoping felt sorry to hear them saying those words. Tell Dad to come back. I will support the family. Li Qingru was comforted by his reply. You have grown up and you can make so much money. In the future, your dad and I will be able to live an easier life, but we will continue to work. I will find a job with your dad when I feel better, to help you out on the off chance that you need some money in the future. Suoping felt his heart was being crushed. He took a deep breath and said, Mom, we will talk about jobs in the future. First, tell Dad to come back. Also, from now on, you will live on this street. I will set up a house for you. In case of emergencies, I'll be able to go and help you right away if you live close to me. Li Qingru nodded. She didn't ask about what dangers there could be. She had lived long years and experienced many events. She knew the base city was not secure, especially in the shantytown areas. Many base cities on the planet had fallen due to beast invasions. The way she saw it, this was probably what Suoping referred to as emergencies. Although the odds of such events happening to them was low, the risk was still there. It was better to err on the side of caution. They finished their breakfast and Suoping took Li Qingru and Solingyu to a store that used to sell sofas. They would stay there for the time being. He would find another time to hire a real decoration team to fix up this building as a house. As for why they had to stay there, Suoping made up an excuse. Since Solingyu knew the true reason, she helped Suoping persuade Li Qingru into staying. Li Qingru couldn't argue with them, so she agreed to stay. After having helped them settle down, Suoping went back to his store. He heard the loud noises along the way, so loud that his ears were going numb. He asked the system, "Can you make it less noisy? There are other stores in business around here. This is too much a scene." Got it. Soon, all the noises from the construction were less loud. The decoration teams shifted their work indoors. In this way, people could see that there was construction still going on, but at the same time, they couldn't see the specifics. This was enough for a cover-up story. Suoping was amazed by this hardcore upgrade. He went back to the store and called Joanna out from the nursing pen. Powerful energy oozed out from her, which was too eye-catching because she had the momentum of a beast king. He told her to dial it down and walk around the stores under construction to check his territory. She obeyed his orders to retract her energy output. But she wasn't happy about checking his territory. She felt Suaping was abusing his powers for a personal agenda. But she remembered what she could get as an employee. She snorted as a protest and then was ready to go out. It was at that time when some people showed up. The leader of the gang was an old man with white hair. He was wearing a cyan robe. The old man appeared to be elegant and refined. He didn't let out any powerful energy, but he didn't seem to fit in this environment. There was something about him that made people feel he didn't belong to this secular world. The old man was being followed by several people, some middle-aged and some even older than him. All of them stood behind the white-haired old man. They appeared to regard him with reverence. Suaping heard the footsteps. He looked up and noticed something unusual about that old man. He was advanced in age, but he was glowing with confidence. Suaping thought of something. He remained seated behind the counter. At the moment, those men stood by the door in a daze after they saw Joanna, who was just on her way out. The men were all well informed, but they had never seen a lady so stunningly beautiful. Her beauty made their eyes shine. She was perfect. Such a breathtakingly pretty lady was standing in this shabby little store that was located in the middle of nowhere. She stood out from the mass, like a glowing phoenix inside a chicken coop. The white-haired old man felt that his breath was taken away a bit, but he quickly shifted his look to focus on Suaping, who was behind the counter. The others standing behind the white-haired old man sent Joanna a few more glances. But they knew who they were, so they couldn't keep their eyes glued on her so brazenly. One of them looked around with his eyebrows knitted together. He had never imagined that the place they were hurrying to after they received the news was this sorry store. This? You? The old man recognized Suaping at once. After all, they had gathered and sent him photos of this young man before they went there. Once they saw the photos, their first reaction was shock. It was beyond their wildest imagination that the person who had reached the 9th dragon bone was a man of such a young age. Their shock increased as they dug out the life story of this young man. He had renounced the world splendidly, but he had no strong connection or background whatsoever. What astonished them even more was that this young man didn't die at the 9th dragon bone. He had survived it and managed to make it back to his store, though they had sent people to spy on him. They were certain that the young man had obtained items of utmost importance. Suaping smiled at the old man. Yes, I am the owner. He then turned to Joanna. Joanna, people came to our store. Why didn't you welcome them? Joanna didn't know that there was stuff for her to do. She was furious. She was a noble member of the god race. How could she say welcome to those mean creatures? If she were to go out and visit some places, mean creatures like them wouldn't even have the right to receive her. Why was it her turn to serve those mean creatures? She was angry, annoyed, and depressed. And yet, because of the established code of conduct for employees, she had no other choice but to say, "Welcome." But she spoke with a stone-cold face. The simple word was uttered in such a stiff way, as if those people owed her money. All the people present were stunned. The way she conversed with the young man and the things she said implied that this lady with a beauty level that could wreck the country and bring ruin to the people was actually working there. They thought they understood the situation when they noticed that the lady was angry and reluctant. She had suffered an injustice. If it weren't for the fact that they had made the visit on official business, they would have helped the damsel in distress and sent her home. Suaping knew that Joanna had a long way to go before she could become a qualified employee, given how bad her attitude was, but this wasn't the moment to correct her behavior. He stared at those people at the door and said, "Our store offers pet training and pet nursing services. What do you need?" The old man sneered. "We need you." "Me?" Suaping shook his head. "My skills are for sale, but not my body." "Do not banter with me," the old man howled. The old man crossed his arms behind his back. He had kept a straight face all this time. All of a sudden, a streak of chilling light came out from his eyes as he said, "Get over here." It was as if his words contained power. A strong force swarmed out to Suaping, trying to drag him over. Right when that force was about to envelop Suaping, a barrier appeared out of nowhere. It protected Suaping before the force arrived and fended it off. What? The white-haired old man was stunned stiff. His move had failed. How was that possible? He was only shocked for 1 second. The indifference in his eyes faded away. He began to check Suaping carefully, only to find some unfathomable energy was surrounding Suaping and his force could not break through that barrier. Someone was indeed backing Suaping. A cold glint rose in the old man's eyes. He had anticipated that Suaping would have a serious supporter. After all, an average young man with no powerful background making such achievements was impossible. Who is your teacher? The white-haired old man sounded ghastly. He was sure that such a person was most likely a legendary battle pet warrior. But on this continent, there were only 2 legendary battle pet warriors and he knew for sure that the other one would not oppose him. On the other hand, the old man also didn't think the person behind Suaping was a legendary battle pet warrior from another continent. Those legendary battle pet warriors wouldn't train a student there, otherwise it would be taken as a clear declaration of war, since none of the continents had ever interfered in each other's matters. The others had witnessed what happened and were clearly astounded. They could tell that Master Yuan was trying to drag the young man over but failed, which was unbelievable. Or, could it be that a powerful presence hidden in a place they couldn't see had just helped Suaping out? They all tried to check the store with their minds. However, they realized that they couldn't see through this seemingly mundane store. Some rooms in the store were closed, and they could not see what was inside. How was that possible? All of a sudden, that shabby little store became horrific. A barrier that could block their perception had to be of an advanced level and it was possible that it had been set by a legendary battle pet warrior. There could be a legendary battle pet warrior inside this store, all of them put their guards up because of this possibility. They mobilized their astral powers secretly, while on high alert. All of them felt a sense of danger in that worn-out store. Even though they had established their fame a long time ago. Suaping heaved a sigh. You're here because of the mysterious realm. That is open to the public, to begin with. Such being the case, everyone deserves the right to obtain the legacy. But you're going after me as if I owed you money. Don't you think you are a little too stingy? The white-haired old man pulled a long face. Stingy? Who could be generous enough to give up the legacy of a mysterious realm? Kid, you haven't earned the right to talk to me yet. Let the person supporting you come out. I want to see what kind of senseless person would dare to covet what is rightfully mine. Suaping rolled his eyes and said to Joanna, what are you waiting for? Your boss is being humiliated. People have come to our door to pick a fight. Deal with them. Wait, the third person to the left, leave him alone. Venerable the Blade helped me once, so I'm grateful to him. Suaping made a sour face when Joanna didn't move. Do you plan to keep your rating or not? You're obliged to maintain order in the shop. It's written in the agreement. Now here's a bunch of yelling thugs. It's time to do something. Joanna remembered the said clause and reached the grim conclusion that she had just become a lowly bouncer for the shop, and there was nothing she could do about it. She didn't want to get her hands dirty just to deal with pathetic humans. Gah! What do I do, kill them, throw them out, or what? Suaping humphed. Kill anyone who intends to kill. Otherwise, teach them a lesson with several punches. Joanna directed her frustration at the intruders by glaring at them. Hear that, worms? Scram before I sentence you to death with my divine power. The offenders didn't quite understand how this seemingly defenseless girl would talk to them like that. Divine power? She's crazy, man, someone mumbled. Yuan Tianquan's face turned gloomy as he no longer hid his thirst for violence. In his life as a legendary warrior, it had been decades since somebody had dared to humiliate him so. Perhaps this woman didn't know who he was, but that wasn't enough for him to forgive her. Very well. Let me find out what kind of failure has raised such an ill-mannered scum. Yuan Tianchen still believed that Suo Ping's teacher was hiding somewhere in the building. He was planning to draw that man out without minding those two younglings. He began gathering a huge amount of astral power at a terrifying speed, causing the street outside to quake slightly. In a matter of seconds, every last bit of astral power in a large area had been concentrated in his hand. By using the gathered energy, he hurled a gigantic ethereal fist in Suo Ping's way. Suo Ping did his best to keep his poker face, much to Joanna's irritation. Suo Ping's careless attitude had just convinced her that she should stay put and watch what would happen next. But again, she was worried that watching her boss get beaten would leave a bad mark on her resume, even though Suo Ping couldn't die for real. At least she had not realized that Suo Ping was no longer invincible in this world. Arg! Filthy humans! Joanna teleported herself in front of Suo Ping and dispelled the approaching astral fist away with a hand, just like slapping away a mosquito. Yuan Tianchen saw how his attack had been so easily deflected and could only give Joanna a look of disbelief. Similarly, the other titled warriors behind him, including Venerable the Blade, were stunned by the sudden turn of events. But she looks only 16 or so. Could it be another old geezer who keeps that young look with some kind of forbidden art? That was the only viable explanation they could think of. Venerable the Blade recognized the young man he had saved back at the Dragon Tower as soon as he arrived. Back at the tower, he had detected an unbelievably strong power coming from Suo Ping. It should have belonged to a titled battle pet warrior. He thought it was a mistake at first, but then changed his mind when he learned that it had also been Suo Ping the one who made it to the final floor of the tower. He didn't tell this matter to anyone then, since nobody would believe him anyway. How outlandish would it be if he claimed that a random young man was a titled battle pet warrior? Even Yuan Tianquan's daughter still had a long way to go before reaching that level, when her father was one of the strongest warriors across the continent. But right then, Venerable the Blade was no longer concerned about Suo Ping's strength because this strange girl was even mightier than titled warriors. She blocked off Yuan Tianquan's focused attack like it was nothing. Now, die! Joanna lifted a hand and also began gathering energy. Not astral power, but golden, fulgent energy that sent a subduing aura over the room. Yuan Tianchen went wide-eyed when he noticed the girl's strength growing rapidly until it reached the rank of legendary, just like him. She's also a legendary warrior? Those behind Yuan Tianchen had not reached that level yet, though they had spent enough time with Yuan Tianchen to know what a legendary warrior felt like. And they just couldn't believe that they had found such power from this girl. Crack, crack! Joanna moved her glowing hand forward, creating several fissures around it as if the very space had been frozen solid. This cannot be! Yuan Tianchen yelled out. Something told him that he could not afford to hold anything back right then. After fully revealing his true power, he quickly drew a series of complicated runes in front of him and created several round, energy shields that stacked against each other to increase their effectiveness. However, the shields were soon destroyed one by one, as if someone were peeling an onion. Before Yuan Tianchen could do anything else, his body was hurled away by a giant force, together with all of his companions. All of them collapsed on the street outside. Unlike the others, Yuan Tianchen managed to stay upright without falling down thanks to all the combat experience he had gained in his life. Though he still stumbled a good distance away from the shop, and it didn't look pretty. She's truly a legendary warrior. But how? I should know every legendary warrior living on this planet. Yuan Tianchen almost screamed when countless questions piled up in his mind. What was that power? It was almost magnificent. Magnificent, and deadly. Unlike the astral power we normally use. Yuan Tianchen was a veteran, but not a kid who was easily swayed by anger. He currently had enough reasons to stay calm and reassess the situation more carefully. He wished to figure out where this woman had come from. An unknown legendary warrior that suddenly popped up out of nowhere was a serious problem. Also, a powerful legendary warrior was willing to sit inside this small shop and be ordered around by a young man? Who was he? Did he have someone influential helping him from behind the stage, or was he actually someone strong who kept his true power hidden? Yuan Tianchen found his anxiety was growing uncontrollably, as he suspected that there might be confronting two legendary warriors. If that was the case, he would lose in a direct confrontation if an all-out fight broke out. Everyone had noticed that the girl was a legendary warrior, and they were equally shocked to realize that such a rare case had taken place right there, while nobody had heard anything about it. There were only a dozen legendary warriors on this whole planet. Why would one of them stay in that insignificant shop? They retreated farther just in case. They could no longer interfere when it came to a battle between legendary warriors. Yuan Tianchen asked a question in a loud voice. You're not from this planet, I take it? Are you perhaps a member of the Federation's interstellar operation teams? Humans had long begun exploring outer space and had successfully established many colonies on other planets. As a matter of fact, their home planet was slowly being forgotten over time as resources were depleted, diminishing the planet's overall value. This was why the Federation would never send assistance to help in dealing with all the space fractures. They didn't care. Joanna raised an eyebrow. Federation? What the heck is that? Some kind of gathering place for your pathetic kind? I'm not telling anything to an ant like you. Beat it. Don't let me say it again. Yuan Tianchen lowered his head to keep his hateful look hidden. Sui Ping frowned and whispered, try not to reveal your origin. Stop saying God and divine power and such. You're going to embarrass all of us. Joanna scowled. My origin? These lowly insects will never know where I came from. Do you know that I'm already trying to be nice here? My holy weapon can pierce that old fart's heart before you see it. I just don't want to get any blood on it. Sui Ping didn't doubt her words. If a pure-blooded god fought against a human, the result should be obvious. Besides, the system told him that Joanna was a powerful entity even compared to her people. That old man was only an average legendary warrior, which was basically nothing when a god was present. Just don't call our customers ants and insects, all right? What's the problem? It's not like I'm referring to you. Come on. I'm trying to lay low in this humble shop, you know what I mean. Tisk outside, Yuan Tianchen summoned a space tier around him, from where a large creature with a humanoid body walked out, causing an obvious drop in temperature. The creature was pitch black, as if its body were a black hole, something that not even light could escape from. It had 4 arms holding 4 different weapons, a sword, a dagger, a chain, and a curved saber. Each weapon was coated by dark mist that seemed to be made of countless screaming souls craving for revenge. Even the sky turned dark as the creepy existence showed up. Yuan Tianken's partners were shocked once again after seeing what he had just done. That humanoid creature was none other than Yuan Tianken's pet. A beast king at that. While it was not very big in size compared to other beast kings, it was no less deadly since it possessed every bit of prowess a beast king needed. Yuan Tianchen looked at his pet and uttered a single word. Fusion. The pet melted into a puff of smoke and dived inside Yuan Tianken's body, transferring the gloomy aura onto Yuan Tianchen instead. His original gentle old man image was instantly turned into that of a merciless murderer. His eyeballs had become completely black, as if possessed by a demon. Another pair of limbs extended out from his sides, which held the same weapons of his pet. Venerable the Blade stepped farther away with his friends upon sensing the dangerous aura coming from Yuan Tianchen. The dramatic display attracted Sui Ping's attention as he glanced that way. Ah, so that's the rumored pet fusion skill only legendary warriors can use? He could feel the power of a beast king radiating from the old man's position across the distance. It was pretty impressive. Joanna was angered again since the tough customer refused to stand down. I'm showing you mercy, worm, yet you do not wish to accept it, I see. There won't be another chance. She slowly moved a hand across the air, creating a shining lance that filled the interior of the shop with a different kind of compelling might, like that of a righteous warrior who had lost his mind in too much bloodshed. With her weapon in hand, she threw Yuan Tianchen a disdainful glimpse. Die, you! Yuan Tianchen bellowed with two different voices echoing against each other. The ground beneath him buckled, as he reached the shop in an instant and used all four weapons to attack Joanna from four different directions. Joanna didn't flinch in the slightest when the weapons were almost upon her. Her retaliation was simple. When the enemy was close enough, she pushed her lance forward with a single thrust attack at lightning speed. The weapon was so fast that it left its lingering shadow behind. Simple, quick, and deadly. Yuan Tianchen tried to defend himself, yet he failed. He found that an unknown force had briefly stopped his movements, as if someone had put a leash on him. That brief obstruction was enough for Joanna's weapon to reach his chest and go all the way through his body. Everything went quiet as the other titled warriors watched how Yuan Tianchen, one of the most prominent warriors they knew, was helplessly dangling from a polearm that had pierced through his heart like a criminal trussed to a stake. They had recognized that this girl had to be a legendary battle pet warrior, but they did not foresee that Yuan Tianchen would be that much weaker than her when he, too, was a legendary battle pet warrior. At first, when the girl smashed Yuan Tianchen out of the store, they thought that might have been because he had underestimated his enemy. But that could not explain why he was defeated again when he had fused with his pet. This couldn't have been an accident. The girl crushed Yuan Tianchen. The youthful girl had turned out to be a horrifying being on par with a beast king. How could there be such a terrible person on the blue planet? Yuan Tianchen could not believe this. He felt a dull pain on his chest that was spread all across his body. He also sensed how the spear in his chest was sucking away his life. He shuddered in horror at the prospect of death, which had not happened in a long time. Would he die? He had never thought that he would consider this question because of a girl. He couldn't believe that it wasn't a place in the abysses or forbidden regions on the blue planet, nor the dangerous locations in the mysterious realm, but a worn-out little store in an average base city that had placed him in this desperate and perilous situation. The panic lasted for merely 1 second. He pulled himself together and made up his mind. The dark areas in his eyes faded away as the white of his eyes became visible again. At the same time, he quickly forced himself backward to free himself from the spear. However, as Yuan Tianchen was moving away from the spear, another body was still dangling from it. It was the human-shaped battle pet that had fused with him. This pet was a beast king with monstrous evil energy. At the moment, the pet was wiggling in pain and bellowing in misery while it was skewered by the spear. Like hot water to ice, the divine energy was a bane to beings of the demon family. Joanna squinted her eyes and sneered at the pet. She peeled the dark creature off from her spear. That lowlife repulsed her, and she was afraid it would contaminate her spear. Yuan Tianchen landed on the ground outside the store, unharmed. Sui Ping was staring at him, stunned. A moment before, he saw with his own eyes how the spear pierced through his body. Why would Yuan Tianchen emerge without any wounds? Was Sui Ping hallucinating? That was unlikely. Joanna was formidable. That old man's mind was not strong enough to fool her yet. Sui Ping supposed it had to be because of some mysterious skills that he was unaware of. Then he shifted his looks to the Beast King creature that had been thrown away. It got him thinking. This creature had a wound that went deep to the bones on its chest, almost costing the creature's life. But the creature's healing ability was terrifying. In a blink, the wound had scarred. On the surface, the creature seemed to have recovered. I have shown you mercy. Since you do not repent, then death is what you are going to get. Joanna held the spear in her hand, and the rays of light coming out from her eyes were blinding. The energy that she had been hiding in her body was swarming out. Her presence was growing more and more until it became suffocating. She was like a giant, looking down the masses with all her might. Yuan Tianchen, who had just come out of the store and was still trying to catch his breath, looked up as he heard Joanna's words. Yuan Tianchen was seized with horror as he saw the overwhelming power exhibited by the girl. He had only experienced this when he confronted beast kings. No, this was much worse than facing a beast king. Somehow, he had the urge to drop to his knees and bow. This power couldn't have come from a human being, it was godly. Besides, from the way that the girl was controlling her powers, Yuan Tianchen could tell that she was far from being an average legend. She was at a level that he was unable to reach. Why did he end up meeting such a terrifying being in this store? His heart was trembling. He would have never guessed that someone this dangerous was hiding on the blue planet. Wait! Yuan Tianchen shouted when Joanna was ready to strike. I have offended you, and I'm willing to make it up to you. How about we consider this as water under the bridge? Yuan Tianchen threw out those words quickly. He sounded quite sincere. As he was about to finish his sentence, he turned his eyes to the young man standing inside the store. That young man appeared to be weak, he wasn't even an advanced battle pet warrior yet. However, from the way he and the girl conversed, Yuan Tianchen realized that this monster girl was not the one making the decisions, but the young man who had obtained the right to receive the legacy. Sui Ping squinted. He was pondering. When the old man stepped into the store, Venerable the Blade and the others were walking behind him. From that moment, Sui Ping gleaned that this old man was a legendary battle pet warrior, the manipulator, or one of them, of the mysterious realm. Killing this man would have one benefit. He would be spared of all future troubles. However, the disadvantage would be that the falling of a legendary battle pet warrior could create a great disturbance, and that other legendary battle pet warriors would begin to pay attention to his store. That being said, since there was a security zone that came with the store, Sui Ping was not worried that other legendary battle pet warriors would notice his store. Sui Ping said nothing for a moment. The silence was a clear indication of his decision: kill this man. Remove the source of the trouble. Joanna darted a glance at Sui Ping, and she noticed the flash of killing intent in Sui Ping's eyes. She flashed a sarcastic grin. Knowing the mean human he was, Sui Ping was certainly up to no good. She was right. He wasn't going to show mercy. Of course, she wasn't going to be lenient, either. That petty human had challenged her time after time. His death was more than justified. The energy was converging her spear. In the next moment, a golden glow burst out from Joanna's eyes. She waved her slim arms and hurled out the spear, which was tearing apart the void like a bolt of golden lightning. Even the air began to twist. With unforeseen killing intent and turbulent energy, the spear traveled toward its target, Yuan Tianchen. Yuan Tianchen was terrified. He had begun to fear his fate when Sui Ping replied to his question with silence. Since that moment, Yuan Tianchen had been preparing quietly. He reacted instantly as the girl began to channel energy to her spear. Run! He didn't choose to fight, but to run away. From the previous strike, Yuan Tianchen had realized that he wasn't a match for the girl. The fact that he couldn't defeat the girl when he and his pet had fused was astonishing to him. But there was no time for him to wonder about the underlying reason. He had become a legendary battle pet warrior not merely because of his talents, but also because of the experience he accumulated during countless battles and the prudence he had learned. His cautious behavior had been a crucial factor in his rise to become a powerful warrior, instead of losing his life too early. Still, Yuan Tianchen's speed was not a match against the spear. The weapon reached its target instantly. Frightened by this, Yuan Tianchen mobilized all of his powers, tore open the void, and teleported himself to dozens of meters away across the street. Bang! The golden spear pierced through his arm. With the same momentum, the spear shot into the building across the street and flew out from the building from the opposite side and straight into the sky. Joanna waved her hand, the spear made a turn in the air and flew back quickly. Run! Run! Yuan Tianchen stared at his severed arm, terrified as if he could see a ghost in broad daylight. He was more scared than ever. He turned around and fled without looking back. Soon after, he vanished from the street, re-emerging outside the shanty town area. He took a moment to catch his breath. He sensed that the horrifying girl didn't go after him, and this fact relieved him. Still, he was afraid to stay here for long. He continued to run until he reached the border of the base city. He looked back for a second time. Finally, he felt he could put his heart back in his chest. There was no trace of that girl. It was only then that he found he was soaked in a cold sweat. Yuan Tianchen was terrified by those thoughts. If she were a warrior that came from another planet that was part of the Federation, then what was she trying to achieve by coming to the blue planet? Or could this girl be an officer secretly assigned by the federal government to monitor the blue planet? Either was good news for him. What terrified him the most was not the girl herself, but how the young man was treating her. That girl was not in the slightest weaker than he was, but she had to listen to his orders. Yuan Tianchen could certainly tell that the girl had to obey orders from the young man for some reason, based on how she acted when he was around. Yuan Tianchen couldn't figure out why the girl had been forced into this situation, but he was certain that the underlying reason had to be appalling. Yuan Tianchen didn't think that a young man could have grabbed a hold of some vulnerable points of a legendary battle pet warrior all by himself. On the other hand, he did find it plausible if the girl feared the young man because she was scared of the horrifying presence that was supporting him. Did the young man fake his background story? The information Yuan Tianchen had collected about the young man was detailed and specific. But he did know that those with great power and influence could fabricate a story realistic enough to fool him. Yuan Tianchen was lost in his thoughts. He escaped? Outside the store, on the street, Venerable the Blade and all the other titled battle pet warriors were standing there in astonishment after Yuan Tianchen ran away as rapidly as his feet would move. They were currently staring at the building that had been penetrated by the spear. The building was fortunately unoccupied. A hole with a 10-meter diameter or more had been left in the middle of the construction, as if it had been bombarded. Rubble was falling. They could still feel the surge of divine energy. They were shuddering in fear as they struggled to turn around. Run? They had thought about running away. However, they halted this stupid thought in its tracks. To get away in front of a legendary battle pet warrior was as hard as it could get. Only one or two of them could have the good luck of successfully escaping if they could split up and flee to different directions. The rule for hunters was that the hunter would capture the first one to run away in a cage. Therefore, none of the titled battle pet warriors made the first move. None of them wanted to be the target that caught the hunter's attention. Sui Ping was unhappy since Joanna had failed to kill that old man. I thought you could have taken care of him easily. Why did you let him run away? Sui Ping accused her. Joanna gazed into the direction the old man vanished into. She was confused as well. Sui Ping's words angered her, so she turned around and refuted, "How would I know? My strength is greatly undermined outside the territory of the store. Otherwise, that strike would have eliminated the old man, body and soul." You're useless. Who are you calling useless? She who responded to my comment. You. Joanna was losing her mind. She breathed heavily, foaming at the mouth. She was a noble being of the god race. To let a petty human being slip away right under her nose was already a source of humiliation and fury. To make it worse, Sui Ping wouldn't stop nagging. Anger left her out of breath and she wished she could kill someone to vent her frustration. Sui Ping's whining was not the most vexing to her. She was pissed about letting a lowlife escape. If any member of the god race knew about this, she would feel too ashamed to show her face. She didn't know that her strength would be diminished outside the scope of the store. Or else, she would have finished that human being when she used her skills at such a close range. She stopped arguing with Sui Ping by saying, "Put up or shut up." As such, Sui Ping decided not to dwell on the subject any longer. To vent his anger on her was of no use. That old man chose to run away after a few rounds of the fight. He must have had a full understanding of Joanna's strength. It was certain that he wouldn't bother Soaping again, as long as he didn't lose his mind. After all, that old man had no idea that Joanna could only use her full strength within the bounds of the store. Yuan Tianchen had to be wary of Soaping at the moment because of the possibility that there were two legendary battle pet warriors in the store. One was Joanna, and her presence indicated that there could be a mighty person supporting Soaping in secret. Soaping believed that even if that old man returned to strike again, he would have the ability to protect his life. He had not used the ability to summon the dragon soul that the Dragon King had given him yet. After much deliberation, Soaping concluded that he was still too vulnerable. If he was strong enough, he wouldn't have to waste time thinking about any of this. He could just beat up all the invaders. Soaping collected himself. Staring at those titled battle pet warriors standing outside the store, scared into silence, he found himself filled with complicated feelings. Back at the mysterious realm, he was the one who had to look at those people in awe. But at the moment, those lofty beings were shivering outside, like lambs that had been frightened by the chilly wind. This had to be the charm of power. Soaping fixed his gaze on Venerable the Blade, who had offered him a helping hand once. "Come on in," Soaping shouted. Then he said to Joanna, "Put away your killing intent now." Joanna was just thinking about unloading her anger onto those weaker humans. Soaping's words added fuel to her wrath. "Aren't you going to have them killed? You know they didn't come with good intentions, right?" Soaping knew that Joanna was looking for an outlet to her fury. He tried to comfort her, "Be a good girl now. Do what I say. If you want to kill someone, I will find others for you to kill later on." "What are you talking about? I'm a god. Killing humans gets my hands dirty. As humans, you don't stomp bugs on the ground to death for no reason at all, right? That would be disgusting." Joanna taunted, and that made her feel better. She stopped revealing her strength and the golden spear vanished in her hand. Soaping rolled her eyes. That was not the time to continue this bickering because those titled battle pet warriors had stepped into the store, still trembling. Venerable the Blade was the only one that could manage to stay calm after a fashion. All the others looked awful. They couldn't stop their hearts from pounding. They had always been in the upper class and they had worked many years to achieve it. They should have countless days ahead of them to enjoy. To perish right then and there would be pathetic and a tragedy. Those titled battle pet warriors felt complicated after looking at the girl and the young man. Since when did they become afraid of the younger generation? Of course, they weren't sure if the girl and the boy were actually from the younger generation, since they were powerful enough to scare Yuan Tianchen away. Some people could use certain secret items to keep young looks or restore their youth. "Venerable the Blade, I heard that you are proficient with saber play. I wonder if you can stay a bit and teach your skills to one of my pets," Soaping asked Venerable the Blade. That wasn't what Venerable the Blade had expected to hear from Soaping. He said at once, "You flatter me. Brother Su, don't call me Venerable the Blade. That is too much. Call me Lang Yingjun, my original name." Soaping was surprised. Lang Yingjun? Lang as in the character that meant cold and Yingjun that meant handsome? He found it amusing that the noble Venerable the Blade's family name was Lang and Yingjun his first name. It was indeed an interesting name. What were his parents thinking? Teaching saber play. My skills are hard to master. I'm afraid that it will take a long time for your pet to learn if its power of understanding is only average. Of course, I'm not saying I don't want to do it. I'm just saying it can take a long time. I hope you can accept that, Venerable the Blade cautioned. Soaping said, "It's okay. Do what you've got to do. If my pet cannot learn it, I will beat it." Venerable the Blade was speechless. Beating? Could a pet's power of understanding increase after a beating? But he didn't say another word. After all, Soaping was more dangerous than Yuan Tianchen. The other people were envious of Venerable the Blade for being able to stay behind to teach Suiping's pet. That was somewhat disgraceful, but at least his life was insured. Brother Su, I know archery. Any of your pets need this? One of the old men proposed with a kind and soft smile on his face. He was a different person at the moment, compared to when he arrived with such grimness on his face. I have some unique techniques myself. I know healing skills. Brother Su, wherever you go in the world, you cannot do without healing skills. When you are out there in the wild and get hurt by beasts, you can lose your life without timely care. That is when healing skills can help, another chubby old man suggested, smiling fatuously. Chapter 237 The Best Academy. The rest of them quickly offered as if someone else was going to steal their chances away. Oh well, the charm of power. Suiping thought, amused by their reactions. These respected warriors are just like common people when they know they are in real trouble. Suiping didn't believe that all the good warriors in this world would cleverly adapt to different situations, even if it meant bowing their heads. But, those who got dignity would probably not follow around someone like Yuan Tianchen. And since those people were willing to submit to Yuan Tianquen's control, they'd do the same in this shop. Suiping was quite interested in what he had just heard, especially the old man who claimed to be a healer. He was told that this man was a renowned master healer who was also a titled battle pet warrior. His healing arts were able to treat most known conditions, such as fleshly wounds and poisons. This alone had won him a good reputation in the base city. While Suiping did not need healing support when training inside cultivation plains, he did require such a thing in real life. Studying the art himself might not be too helpful when he spent most of his time inside the shop. He wondered if he could ask this man to teach Solingyu instead. For the moment, he decided to keep Venerable the Blade and the healer guy for the moment. He didn't have enough time to accept too many teachers right then. You didn't come here just to have a friendly chat, am I right? Suiping glanced at the 4 people he was going to send away. I'm not letting you go just like this. Come on, show me something to earn your leave, if you know what I mean. The said people carefully took a glimpse at Joanna, who responded with one of her threatening glares that appeared just as dangerous as before. A man stepped up. I'm sorry, Mr. Su. I was blind. And foolish. I am afraid I don't have anything of value. For your trouble, I'm willing to pay with my flesh. How about this, I'll cut off an arm and never trouble you again. Or both of them, if that's what it takes to quench your anger. Suiping rolled his eyes. Why do I need your stupid arms? I'm not a freaking cannibal. You have nothing valuable? I don't think so. Being titled warriors, you all gotta have some good stuff stashed away. Show me, or I'll kill you and find it on your body. Too bad he couldn't simply force them to help the shop by buying a lot of items. The system didn't allow him to force customers when it came to business. The group seemed relieved when they learned that they could buy their way out without losing a body part or two. May I know the general price, Mr. Su? Just tell me a number and I can surely try to produce it. Of course. How about a quadrillion astral coins, said Suiping. What? Please, sir, you know that's unreasonable. I know that. Suiping humphed in disgust. You're the one who told me to give you a number, so there it is. Guess your wallet isn't as big as your pride, hey? Fine. Just tell me how much you can pay me, at most. Well. 10 billion. Suiping felt his heart race faster in excitement while trying not to show it on the outside. If he could convert such money into energy points, he could buy enough items to boost himself to the legendary level overnight. However, he couldn't. All the money he earned outside his business was just money that couldn't be used in the system shop. And he didn't really need more money right then, when he had just gained a huge sum from the mysterious realm explorations. Let's see. Forget about money. I need materials. Have you heard of something called the fire crystal? It grows inside the hearts of powerful 9th-ranked monsters of the fire type. Another old man spoke this time. I've seen it before, but I do not have any at the moment. If you allow me some time, Mr. Su, I can help you look for it. May I? Su Ping looked doubtful. Are you sure you're up for the job? The old man was taken aback by the question. He chuckled. My name is Lin Ziking, Mr. Su. I may not be a superior battle pet warrior like my fellow companions, but I own multiple esteemed corporations and I even keep famous black markets supervised, from where you can find some of the rarest treasures. A fire crystal is costly, but it certainly isn't too rare a specimen. I can tell my people to deliver it to your door as soon as they find one. Another old man with white hair chipped in, you can trust him, Mr. Su. I've known Lin Ziking for a long time. Su Ping held his chin. All right, get to it. Lin Ziking sighed in relief. Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Su. I'll contact my workers. No, I'll find my daughter right away and tell her to search for it, pronto. She's the current president of Lin International, one of the biggest trading associations on this planet. Su Ping had never heard of this association before, though he knew it wouldn't disappoint him since their leader had a titled battle pet warrior as her father. He then took out a piece of paper and began noting down something, before handing it to Lin Ziking. Mr. Lin, can you help me look for these as well? I won't take those for free. If you do find them, I'll trade with you by paying you something of equal value. The fire crystal was the last component he needed to improve his solar bulwark to the 2nd rank. After that, he would need a ton of new materials to keep going. And of course, most of them were hard to gather. By leveling up the solar bulwark to the 3rd rank, he would be able to survive attacks of beast kings. Certainly. Lin Ziking took the paper with a smile. I'll work on it as soon as possible. And Su Ping shook his head. Don't take me wrong. I have my rules. Since you guys came looking for trouble, I meant to get something from you for the inconvenience you caused me. Nothing personal. In your case, giving me a fire crystal is enough to clear your debt. As for the other materials, we'll be trading on fair terms. The rest of you are free to procure them and trade with me as well. I'll pay accordingly. They quickly approached Lin Ziking and memorized what was written on the list. All of them regretted following Yu and Tianchen to this place, only to end up with a huge embarrassment. While reading the list, Lin Ziking slightly frowned when he recognized several extremely valuable types. It had been a wise decision to not make an empty promise in which he'd find everything Su Ping needed for free. He wouldn't have raised enough money even if he sold all of his companies. Mr. Su? Since you run a pet shop, can I pay you with a pet instead? The man who tried offering his arm spoke up with a reluctant look. It's a dragon. Still a child. I think you can use it. What kind of dragon? A moonfrost dragon. Oh, I see. I guess I'll take it. A moonfrost dragon was placed at the 6th place on the dragon ranking list, which meant it was 3 ranks lower than an inferno dragon. It was pretty good, being inside the top 10. Seeing that Su Ping was not intrigued in the slightest, the man almost felt sad. Ahem, I do not have it on me right now. Shall I go and inform my man to send it to you? Do it here. Su Ping pointed to the floor. You can, right? The man had no choice but to step aside and use his phone to make a call. As the remaining 2 people neither had dragon-type pets nor materials Su Ping was interested in. One of them gave Su Ping one of his valuable treasures, while the other one made a rather strange offer. He said he would grant Su Ping a free chance to study in the best academy across the continent. As soon as he said that, his companions shot him confused looks, as if they had seen an idiot. Rather, even idiots could see that neither Su Ping nor the girl nearby needed to study in some academy. This had left the man in a very bad spot. He was the vice principal of the said academy but didn't really have much to say about himself otherwise. A free ticket to his academy was pretty much the only thing he could think of. Besides, it was a very good offer. Many titled warriors would seek his help when they wanted to send their children to the academy for education. However, the offer was clearly counterproductive in the current case. He was basically implying that Suiping was incompetent. Of course, that wasn't what he meant at all. Offering a free admission was as good as offering nothing at all, because Suiping was surely good enough to enter that academy by normal means. If things went down in such a way, that academy would have a legendary warrior as a student, which would in turn make it known to the entire world. You would really agree? The old vice principal couldn't believe what he had just heard. Suiping nodded. Yet. Though I'm not the one who's going to use that chance. I'll send someone else later. You don't have a problem with that, right? The old man felt his rising joy instantly turning cold. How silly of me, thinking that this brilliant young man needed to study there. Heck, I doubt any of my professors have anything to teach him. It was clear that Suiping meant to reserve the opportunity to his friends or family. Though people weren't sure what exactly would happen because they had yet to figure out Suiping's age. Even though they had already read Suiping's profile before coming, they no longer trusted what they had seen on paper after seeing what had happened that day. The old man sighed as he stepped away. Rest assured, Mr. Su. No matter who it is that you send, I'll tell the academy to send the best teachers and resources his way. Sure. They exchanged phone numbers, and Suiping learned that this vice principal was called Han Yuxiang, a name that sat better on a woman. Why do all these titled warriors have strange names? He thought. There's Lang Yingjun the handsome, and here's Han Yuxiang the pretty. Should I ask the rest of them to tell me their names? Nah. A luxurious rover arrived at the shop, from where a suited young man with sunglasses stepped out. He checked the narrow street and even the narrower shop in front of him and wondered whether the guiding application on his phone had taken him to the wrong place. But then he saw his teacher standing right at the shop's door. Greetings, sir. He removed his glasses and headed to the shop's entrance right away. Meanwhile, his eyes went wider and wider as he recognized several titled warriors nearby. He failed to understand why all of those important figures had gathered in that small place. Of course, he wasn't going to ask that. After hailing his teacher, he went to show courtesy to the others one by one. Oh, sir, the Moonfrost dragon you asked for is right there on the vehicle. Shall it bring it here right away? Yes. Do it fast, his teacher, the middle-aged man surnamed Xiang ordered. The young man hurried back to his car and took out a white, pup-sized creature from the rear trunk. It was a small dragon fully covered in snow-white scales. Using its black beady eyes, it warily looked among the battle pet warriors nearby and shivered as it sensed their compelling auras. Suiping glanced at the creature and made sure the middle-aged man wasn't lying. You can have it, Mr. Su. The man passed the small dragon to him somewhat unwillingly. Please, take good care of it. His student was left agape when he realized that his teacher was giving the dragon to a stranger. Suiping carefully handed the pet to Joanna. Good, you fulfilled your end of the deal. We're even. Xiang breathed in relief. May I leave now? Sure. The man immediately took his student and departed in their car. But sir, wasn't that Moonfrost dragon reserved for your son? The young student asked when their car moved out of the block. His teacher gave him a grim look as he said, just stop. It's already a miracle that I could make it out with my life. The young man was so surprised that he almost crashed their car. But, what about Mr. Venerable? And the others? What are they doing there? Who's that young man inside the shop? He's a monster. That I can tell you. Mark my words, boy, do not, ever, approach this place without a good reason. Not in your life. The young man returned to his driving with a terrified look. He had never seen his respected teacher so scared. Both glad and a little afraid, the others all bid farewell to Suiping and carefully went away. Since Suiping got what he wanted, he did not further trouble those titled warriors. There was no point in it when his real enemy Yuan Tiancan had already received a good beating. Now, only Venerable the Blade and the old healer named Wu Guansheng had stayed behind. Mr. Wu, Suiping spoke as he turned to Wu Guansheng. I have a sister. I'm sure you already found that out through your survey. I hope that you can pass your knowledge to her. Wu Guansheng looked rather disappointed. He thought he would have more time to warm up to Suiping later, which was pretty important when his ex-boss Yuan Tiancan had been beaten up for good. Sure thing, hee. I've read about her as well. A charming genius, I must say. I'm sure the study will go swimmingly. Wu Guansheng meant to admit that they had thoroughly investigated Suiping's family. It was time to be honest. Suiping chuckled. Genius? I'm not sure about that. Anyway, your job is to teach her how to heal. Your debt will be paid once she learns all of your 8th rank healing arts. I'll be patient about it, but don't take too much time. I would not slack off, Mr. Su. But it takes years of practice to become an 8th rank healer. Or perhaps a decade. It's not something I can rush. Wu Guansheng gave him a sad look. Suiping didn't seem to care. I'll give you 3 years, and that's that. How to make it happen is entirely up to you. If the girl's still not good enough after 3 years, I'll be sure to find you and find out how to fix your progress. But that's impossible. Even the best teacher on this planet can't just turn a rookie into a master in such a short time. This isn't fair. Say, the mysterious realm is supposed to be a public place where everyone is allowed to use their strength and wits to fight for a fortune. But look at what you guys did to me. Was that fair at all? Wu Guansheng didn't protest. He couldn't. He hoped that Suiping's sister was as resourceful as Suiping himself, which was the only thing that might make his job doable. Now go. She lives over there. Suiping pointed to another building nearby. Don't tell her I sent you, or she'll pester me with questions all day. Wu Guansheng nodded and almost sprinted out of the shop, fearing that losing even a second would make his work harder. Suiping looked at Venerable the Blade and summoned Little Skeleton. As soon as it showed up, the skeleton braced for danger since this was probably why it had been summoned. It immediately recognized an enemy just nearby, which was Joanna. Though it didn't move when it didn't sense any hostility coming from her. Suiping placed a hand on Little Skeleton's smooth skull. Mr. Venerable, this is the pet who's going to learn from you. Venerable gazed at the small creature with a dumbfounded look. A lesser skeleton? He has such a lowly creature as a pet? All battle pet warriors had low-rank pets at the beginning of their careers when they didn't have many better choices. As they reached higher ranks, however, those starting pets would soon be abandoned, or sent to specialized caring facilities if their masters were kind enough. As a matter of fact, there were many care houses and nursing homes for old and unneeded pets. To Venerable the Blade, someone like Suiping should be using rare 9th rank pets at least, but not this, seemingly worthless skeleton. Chapter 239 Astonishment. Suiping was curious why Venerable the Blade had not said a thing. Venerable the Blade came back to his senses. He forced a smile and asked, Brother Su, you must be a person that would always keep old friendships in mind. Is this skeleton your first pet? Suiping nodded. In a sense, the little skeleton was indeed his first pet. Venerable the Blade thought he had understood the reason, so he said nothing more. He was a man that had gone through it all. He understood that, more often than not, the more sentimental people would find it hard to cut ties with their first pets. Even when those pets were too weak to match their abilities, those people would keep their first pets and even the contracts, even though those first pets would occupy a spot in their spirit for nothing. I have been practicing saber play for my entire life and my skills can be a lot to take in. I'm afraid the skeleton won't learn my skills so soon. But I will do my best to teach it. Venerable the Blade said solemnly to Suoping as if making a promise. The implication of this promise was so that Suoping could trust the teaching to him and not limit him in any way, for example, requiring his stay with the skeleton at all times. That would be a tremendous waste of his time. Suoping was aware of the underlying meaning and he found it natural. Venerable the Blade was a titled battle pet warrior and it was unlikely that the little skeleton could learn all he had mastered in his life in a short time. After some deliberation, Suoping said, "Venerable the Blade, you can just come here 2 or 3 times a week." Venerable the Blade breathed in relief. "No problem. I will try my best to come here more often when I am free." "Thank you, sir. I am the one that should be thanking you. I was forced to come to your store with them today. I hope you can understand." "Of course." While the two were gladly conversing, Joanna looked on coldly and then sneered at them. "Should I take your pet to a nearby battle venue to train?" Venerable the Blade asked. Suoping nodded and sent a message to the little skeleton, telling it to follow that man and take the chance to learn. The little skeleton raised its head and looked at Suoping. Its eye sockets were flickering as if the little skeleton was trying to comprehend Suoping's intention. Venerable the Blade said goodbye to Suoping, then he picked up the little skeleton and left. Suoping watched as they departed. He wasn't afraid that Venerable the Blade might abduct his little skeleton. First of all, he didn't think Venerable the Blade could defeat the little skeleton. After all, its combat strength had reached a score of 10. Second of all, the power of the contract allowed him to locate it, as long as the little skeleton wasn't too far away. Skills of a mortal human being, what is there to learn? Joanna said with haughty disdain. Suoping cast a glare at her. Of course, he remembered this resourceful person with him. He longed to learn the skills she had mastered. But that wasn't the priority for the time being. When time allowed, he would learn those secret techniques bit by bit. This matter has come to an end, finally. I hope that this old legendary battle pet warrior will not come back with more help on an impulse. Or else, I will teach him a lesson, Suoping said to himself. Time zipped by. Everything Suoping had arranged was moving forward as planned. Wu Guansheng had taken Solingyu as a student. At first she thought he was a fraud when he approached her and proposed to teach her healing skills out of the blue. To gain her trust, he controlled objects remotely with astral powers, thus demonstrating a skill unique to titled battle pet warriors. Solingyu believed him after that. She was both surprised and overjoyed to know this titled warrior that came out of nowhere. Unexpectedly, she had left a favorable impression on an expert hidden amongst the civilians who had retired from the public eye. That's right. True talent can never be concealed. I have been keeping such a low profile and yet people noticed that I'm a talent. Oh, how troublesome. Having formally acknowledged Wu Guansheng as her teacher, Solingyu went to Suoping's store on purpose, mentioning her teacher in passing. But Suoping kept a straight face. He even found Solingyu a bit too noisy. Solingyu was hopping mad since she didn't get to see the reaction from Suoping she was hoping for. She went back to study. Suoping took her back from the barren area ahead of schedule, depriving her of the opportunity to train there. However, she currently had a titled battle pet warrior as her teacher. Her coming back early was a blessing in disguise. At the same time, Venerable the Blade had taken the little skeleton to a battle venue. Along the way, since he was carrying a skeleton, many people cast their eyes on him and their looks showed their contempt and ridicule. Venerable the Blade had learned to be blind to other people's opinions. Even so, at the moment, he felt a bit awkward. As such, he bought out the entire battle venue. Inside, he told the staff working there to turn off all the surveillance cameras and then he took out his saber. He told the little skeleton to copy his moves. If he were teaching an intelligent creature, like humans, he could explain the move and then demonstrate. But for a low-rank undead being like the little skeleton, he had no other choice but to let it copy him. As for how well the little skeleton could perform, it would be up to luck. Venerable the Blade didn't use astral powers. He just slashed at the ground with pure physical force. It was a simple move. The little skeleton took out its bone blade and watched as Venerable the Blade moved. The little skeleton blinked and then, like him, it hacked the ground as well. Clang! A dark aura oozed out. The ground cracked deeply. Venerable the Blade almost jumped out in fear. He stared at the little skeleton, frightened. Was this even a skeleton? Venerable the Blade began to question his knowledge. He even waved his saber more times without using astral powers. Clang! Clang! The little skeleton imitated his actions. Several cracks appeared on the ground as if it had been plowed. Venerable the Blade was stunned into stillness. Eventually, he understood why Suoping chose to leave the little skeleton with him, though it was just a skeleton. This little skeleton had demonstrated the skill that could only be mastered by those who had learned middle-rank saber plays. Venerable the Blade no longer dared to be careless while teaching this little skeleton with such a superb power of understanding. He began to take a more serious attitude. This time, he used a skill that he had developed. Clang! A ray of light glistened. A hill that was over 10 meters tall was cut open and the cut was smooth. The little skeleton tilted its head. The red glow in the little skeleton's eye sockets kept on glistening as if deliberating. A moment later, the little skeleton quickly made its move. Clang! The second half, the thicker part, of the hill was halved and the cut was just as smooth as before. Venerable the Blade was terrified. This was astonishing. The skill he had demonstrated was one that he had been practicing. This was the first part, but it also took him 1 to 2 months practice to master, not to mention that he already had mastered the basics of saber play. However, this skeleton had learned it after one look. How strong was its power of understanding? That night, Venerable the Blade took the little skeleton back to the store. He looked tired, but he was reluctant to give the little skeleton back to Suoping. He wanted to take the skeleton away with him, were it not for the scary girl with golden hair working with Suoping. The skeleton was outstanding. He had never seen a pet this amazing. The little skeleton had even surpassed some human beings. It had displayed a more powerful combat strength than he had imagined. He even felt some pressure. He wondered if this skeleton had mutated. After all, other skeletons didn't have this kind of black bones. After Venerable the Blade returned the skeleton to Suoping, he took the chance to report to Suoping about their lessons. The Chaos Astral Saber play he had mastered consisted of 5 moves. He had thought that for the skeleton, learning 1 move would be more than enough. However, the skeleton had learned 3 moves in just 1 afternoon. Given the skeleton's power of understanding, Venerable the Blade felt that it could master the most difficult 2 moves after 7 or 8 lessons. Venerable the Blade found this progress unbelievable. Fast progress would mean that he could be freed from this obligation earlier and he wouldn't have to go there to teach the skeleton again. However, he was frustrated after seeing that a skeleton could so easily master the saber play he was proud of and that he had been studying for years. Suoping was quite happy with Venerable the Blade's teaching. He could already see the little skeleton's interface. The little skeleton had a new skill and it had already mastered 3 moves, just like Venerable the Blade said. Suoping decided to ask around about the Chaos Astral Saber play and he would know if this was Venerable the Blade's strongest move. On this front, Venerable the Blade would know better than to fool him. The day's lesson had ended. Suoping sent Venerable the Blade off, and placed the little skeleton on the pet space so that it could go on absorbing the blood crystal. He also placed the Moonfrost Dragon in a nursing pen. When time allowed, he would take the Moonfrost Dragon to a cultivation site. He was planning to give this dragon to Solingyu, along with the free ticket to the academy. He didn't need either of those 2 and giving them to Solingyu would be the best choice. She could develop further and he would worry less about her. Sometimes, his sister left Suoping speechless. That being said, they were both of the same family. Being in the same family meant that they could dislike each other, but they would think of each other when it came to important moments and benefits. He believed this was true even though his sister was neither adorable nor gentle. At the Longta mountain, Yuan Tianchen had returned to the mysterious realm. That night, around 3 o'clock in the morning, Venerable the Blade, Lin Ziking and Wu Guansheng returned to the mysterious realm and went to meet with Yuan Tianchen. Yuan Tianchen had been defeated and it was a humiliation. That being said, they wouldn't dare to belittle him. After all was said and done, Yuan Tianchen was a legendary battle pet warrior. Killing them would be a piece of cake for him. Yuan Tianchen was unhappy to see them return safely. He asked them what had happened after he left. That unhappiness was subdued when Yuan Tianchen learned that all of them had been coerced by Suiping and they could only get away after paying a huge price. Chapter 240 Off Limits. Master Yuan, your words bring shame to us. We failed to help you this time, and to make it worse, we hindered you. You have already shown us mercy by not punishing us. Ziking is right. That girl would have never beaten you if we weren't there looking, which surely distracted you, Master Yuan. Master Yuan, I'm the one to blame. I didn't investigate fully. That is why you underestimated your enemy. I am sorry. They were all in a mad rush to be the first to confess, show their regret, and claim that they should take the blame. Venerable the Blade stared at them. They had taken away what he wanted to say before he had the chance to open his mouth. How shameless of them! Yuan Tianchen felt better to hear those words. He shook his head. I don't blame you. It is I who has been too careless. Besides, I don't think there is only one legendary battle pet warrior in that shabby store. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been distracted and she wouldn't have won. Sure, of course. There must be someone behind them. That young man did boss that girl around. I think we have been set up and it is not our fault. The young man certainly knew that we would be alerted after he became qualified to receive the legacy. He must have prepared the ambush at the store beforehand. Luckily, you realized that in time, Master Yuan. Or we could be in bigger trouble. Everyone was acting all Master Yuan, you are wise and responsible. They did their best to save Yuan Tianquan's dignity. As for what had happened in reality, they all knew. But none of them were dumb enough to show it. Yuan Tianchen regained his serenity. Naturally, he was aware that those old foxes were just trying to give him some face. Deep down, both sides understood the reality of the situation but chose not to say so openly. This way, at the very least, it wouldn't reflect so poorly on him. He felt humiliated because of this matter. He was vexed, but to conceal the fact was not possible, given the number of witnesses. The fact that others wouldn't mention this even over and over in his presence would be more than good enough for him. Do not step in that store from now on. That store is off limits. I will settle the scores with them after we have taken care of the mysterious realm matter. Yuan Tianchen claimed. The others felt a chill. There weren't many places that could be tagged as off-limits by Yuan Tianchen. Of course, given how dangerous the store was, it indeed should be off-limit. Even a legendary battle pet warrior had almost lost his life there. Master Yuan, is there anything else we can do for you about the mysterious realm? Wu Guansheng asked with the utmost respect. He was almost fawning. The others nodded and looked as if they were happy to take on more responsibilities. But inside, they wished they could stay as far away from this trouble as possible. After all was said and done, they weren't the ones who would receive a legacy. Take some rest for the time being. I will notify you when the time is right. Yuan Tianchen went on with a glow in his eyes. The day when the mysterious realm is open again is when all the lands have been explored. The young man has been marked as qualified for the legacy, but he shall never obtain it, as long as there are lands still unexplored. In a short time, my granddaughter will be strong enough to pass the 9th dragon bone. She will also become qualified. The others looked at each other in surprise. They all knew about Yuan Tianquan's granddaughter. She was a true talent, a blessed girl. She was far from being an average battle pet warrior. She had other rare skills. Very few people around the entire world had her talent. Since she was a kid, Yuan Tianchen had been devoting all his attention to her training. 3 years back, when she was 16, she graduated from the best academy in the continent while being the overall #1 ranker. She broke many records in the academy. She had attracted tremendous attention back then. 2 years prior, this girl had climbed to the 7th dragon bone, and back then, she was almost as capable as a titled battle pet warrior. 1 year before, she grew stronger and reached the 8th dragon bone. Another year had passed. It was very likely that she could succeed once she challenged the 9th dragon bone. Master Yuan, you're right. Given Lady Yuan's talent, to come this time and obtain the qualification to receive legacy will be as easy as winking. When the time comes, the dragon soul will choose between her and the young man. I believe that beating the young man will be child's play for her. Everyone said flattering words. But this time, they were not saying those words just to butter Yuan Tianchen up. They had met Yuan Tianchen's granddaughter and they knew how amazing this girl was. They had all met many people in their lives but they had never seen anyone else among her peers that could match her abilities. Of course, excluding the lady with the golden hair they had met in that worn-out store. That lady with golden hair had almost taken away Yuan Tianchen's life. She was a legendary battle pet warrior and a powerful one at that. They didn't believe for a minute that she was as young as she appeared to be. Yuan Tianchen was proud of his granddaughter. The biggest pride in his life was not his combat strength, but her. He was confident that he could train his granddaughter well and she would surpass him. Tell the boards of those financial groups about the reopening of the mysterious realm. Let them get more people ready. This time, the mysterious realm won't be open to the public, Yuan Tianchen said. The others nodded. Inside, they felt sorry for the explorers. The original plan was that the Longta Mountain would be open to society for 3 to 5 times more. However, because of Suiping, Longta Mountain had officially been closed from the public. After the legacy was passed on, the mysterious realm would become useless. 24 hours had passed. Ding! Suiping, who was sleeping in a nursing pen, woke up after the system's ding. He got up and heard the system saying, "Upgrade successful. The store is now at LV3. Loading virtual map of the store. New functions of the store." Suiping heard the system finishing all the messages. Then, he pulled up the interface of the store. The displayed information included the record of income, information of the pets in the nursing pens and the ones to be picked up, etc. And on top was the profile picture of Suiping, and clicking the profile picture would allow him to see his personal information. This information included his combat strength, rank, skills, and other aspects. It was quite comprehensive. Suiping browsed through his information and went to check the new functions of the store. He already knew what functions were going to be added, such as pet sales, test space, and professional training. All of a sudden, Suiping saw an employee form. He clicked on the page. Currently, Joanna was the only one listed in the form. Her identity and information were kept in a detailed record. As the store owner, it was within his right to check her information.